Go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to introduce Mr. John Olson, representing himself, speaking in opposition of Bill number 78. Whenever you're ready.
And
John Olson.
I want to make one quick statement before you begin, just to clarify by the the council member who submitted this, that to be clear that this bill was not intended to cut off county geothermal funds to the relocation fund. So if anyone does have that misconception, that they become aware of it before they speak. Thank you.
All right, go for it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
When you come up, we'll clarify. Go ahead, Mr. Olson.
Thank you, John Olson here. I'm here today to testify in opposition to this measure, although I do appreciate my councilman for introducing this, because this puts the topic of the safety of geothermal and to the surrounding community on the table. As I think most of you know, we recently experienced yet another incursion of gas from the plant into the surrounding community. There was no civil defense response in any kind of timely manner, or from the fire department in a timely manner. So it certainly raises the question as to who's watching and who is responsible to watch. In a meeting shortly after this with PGV, with Puna Geothermal Ventures, they made no apology for what they did. In fact, they made it very clear that they would do this any time in the future that they felt that it was necessary. In this case, they went on about how the grid went down, and therefore they were made it necessary for them to vent. And they didn't. There was no apology. There was no excuse us. There was nothing. It just is. This is where we're going to do business. And they made it clear that they felt that there was going to be no blowback from any governmental agency on the subject. As specifically to the fund, myself and a couple other people that are going to come forward and testify here momentarily, we were actually at the table with John Wahay and William Patey when this fund was originally, the concept of this fund was originally developed. And it was not meant in any way, shape, or form to relieve PGV of its responsibility to protect the surrounding community and deal with the issues of its impacts. This was a benefits to the community. It was not a relocation fund. The county council has taken it upon itself over the years to change this. And I believe this should be put back to what it was intended to be, which was to the benefit of the whole community. You know, in the beginning, they made all these claims about low-cost energy, lots of jobs, and all the rest of it, none of which has happened. All we've had is explosions, blowouts, and stink. I suppose even that would be acceptable if they actually made some energy that meant something, but they don't. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. May we bring our second testifier up, Madam Chair?
Yes, please do so.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Our second testifier is Mr. Paul Kuykendall, representing himself. He will be speaking in opposition to Bill number 78. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Aloha. My name is Paul Kuykendall. I'm an organic tropical fruit farmer, and I live on Poiki Road within 1 mile of the PGV plant. I'm here to represent myself, my family, and we strongly oppose Bill 78. Cutting out people who recently purchased land near PGV is not fair for 3 reasons. First, the county requires no notification that real estate purchasers are within 1 mile of the plant. So they may well be unaware that they are so close to the plant, and they will certainly be unaware of the impacts on air quality, noise, and particulates that can drop onto roofs and catchment tanks. Second, impacts of PGV are getting worse, not better. Noise has increased from the plant since they increased capacity to 38 megawatts. They have a permit that allows them to grow to 60 megawatts, which will mean more turbines, more cooling fans, more noise, and more possibility of H2S leaks. And third, the county has done little to regulate PGV. They have done nothing about increasing noise, they have not responded to ongoing air monitoring issues, and they have not implemented a drill for evacuation response. The only recourse families have to the noise, health impacts, and ongoing danger of the plant is to relocate, a heart-wrenching decision. But we should leave that last option open to them. In regards to dispensing with the $1 million reserve requirement, we've recently seen the need for that reserve. More than 20 families have been negatively affected by the plant and made relocation requests totaling more than $4.8 million since 2012. And many are waiting for relocation due to a lack of funds from the Relocation and Community Benefits Fund. Since the fund was renamed Geothermal Relocation and Community Benefits Fund, and the county code was amended to allow expenditures for various things in Lower Puna, more than $2.8 million has been paid from that fund for various county projects, including street signs, porta potties, boat removal, street paving, county council office rent, fences, security, and bus stops, and other projects unrelated to the impacts of geothermal power. I request that the council reject this bill for these reasons. Rather than spending your legislative time shuffling money away from those impacted by geothermal development, I request that the county step up to their responsibility and protect the health and welfare of citizens by drafting stronger ordinances to regulate noise, pollution, accident risk from PGV, especially since other geothermal plants want to come into the area. Mahalo for your time and consideration.
Would the testifier wait there just a minute? Would that testifier, and I apologize, and what is your name again?
My name is Paul Kuykendall.
Okay, Paul, the author of the bill just wants to clarify, ask you a question, make sure you're clear on one point. Go ahead, Gregor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Paul, thank you for testifying. We're going to receive testimony right now. Right now, we need a testimony session, and I'm going to pass it back to the chair. Thank you, Paul, for testifying.
Okay, I think he just wants to be clear that you review the bill, and on the point that there will be, he is putting money into that relocation fund. So to the extent, and if you were not clear on that, he is asking, wanted to check to make sure you understood that.
Yeah, so I'd like to respond by saying I'm crystal clear that there's money in the fund, and I'm also crystal clear that he wants to remove the reserve, and he wants to make it possible to continue to take money out of the fund for things other than relocation.
Okay, you can't, okay.
We're going to stop this.
Okay, hold up.
Mahalo.
And I just want to clarify that during testimony, we can ask questions for purposes of clarification. We cannot have discussions on it. So just so you understand why I was allowing that, but why I also stopped it, that we were not getting into a discussion. Okay, so let's have the next first two from here in Hilo, and that would be Jim Albertini and Tom Travis.
Aloha again, council members. I guess from the comments made, there needs to be clarification on that bill, on whether there is cutoff of funds or transfer of funds for other reasons. I would just like to more address the overall issue on why there's been the need for relocation and other problems with geothermal. I think the county and the state is in the mess with geothermal because Kanaka Maoli's spiritual beliefs about Pele, a Hawaiian deity, have not been respected. Drilling into Pele is sacrilegious. In addition, poor county and state land use decisions were made for financial interests of geothermal companies over the health and safety concerns of residents. This is true from the get-go of HGPA, where that planned for 1 month of open venting. It's also true that geothermal prospecting in the wild Keliopuna rainforest. And it was also true for the reopening of a PGV damaged well blowout, KS8, that experts said should never have been reopened. Myself and a number of people in this room had to occupy the drilling rig when the experts said it should never be reopened. We were arrested. And eventually they reopened that rig for the financial interests of the company, and it had further problems of leaking. We should have been given a commendation by the council, but we never were. The county allowed that well to be reopened for the financial interests of PGV. And it finally was shut in permanently after the second failure. The list of geothermal horrors is ongoing. And over the history of geothermal development in Hawaii, the lack of proper regulation and monitoring by the Hawaii Department of Health and other state and county agencies have been shameful. And that's why we've been in the issue facing the issue of relocation. And now, to make matters worse, the legislature has compounded the problems by allowing further geothermal exploration and development virtually anywhere. Hawaii is headed, in my judgment, toward a major upheaval over geothermal expansion that could surpass the hundreds of arrests and legal actions it took to stop geothermal industrial development in Hawaii's last intact lowland rainforest and the seedbed for the new lava flows. Hawaiian spiritual beliefs, people's basic civil rights, health, and the environment are being trashed by geothermal profiteers' greed. So I would say, please, certainly let the resident relocation funding in place for all geothermal until all geothermal is shut down. And I think what's really needed to be relocated is Ormat, back to its home base of Israel, where all the windfall profits have been going from the rape of Pele and from the poisoning of the people in the land of Puna for far too long. I think there are better, safer, more respectful alternatives than geothermal for Hawaii's energy needs. Mahalo.
I'm Tom Travis. I'm speaking for myself, and I'm also speaking in opposition to Bill 78. I ask that you vote against it. Although Puna Geothermal Venture, the county, and homeowners all take action that impact the livability of homes near PGV, this bill singles out homeowners and asks them to assume the entire responsibility for knowing, understanding, and acting on the risk of living near a geothermal plant. Such action will suppress real estate prices in the area, again punishing residents of Lower Puna and asking them to pay a hidden and unofficial tax whose purpose is to lower the corporate risk for geothermal expansion. This is bad policy. Please ask yourself this question: how can an informed citizen investing his money in a residence evaluate the risk? The latest real estate contract I reviewed warned the investor that there is a geothermal plant proximate to his purpose. But what does that mean? PGV currently operates at a maximum of 38 megawatts. However, the permit allows PGV to operate at 60 megawatts. This bill asks homeowners to accept the risk of PGV expansion to 60 megawatts. Expansion to that level will require increased drilling, increased industrial traffic on a limited road network, increased risk of blowout or accident at the plant, and increased operational noise. PGV general resource permits have set a moving goalpost for noise. Although the original permit specified that noise would be limited to 45 or 55 decibels for night and day, the permit was then modified to allow for 70 decibels at any time. This bill asks the home investor to evaluate how firm future county regulations and standards will be. Additionally, although the permit requires best available current technology to reduce noise, during a recent set of hearings, PGV admitted they could do better with noise abatement than they had done when they drilled for KS-15. The county took no action to address this violation of the GRP, regardless of whether the violation was in spirit or in law. Is it the real estate purchaser's responsibility to evaluate how willing the county will be to enforce the spirit and legal requirements of its permits? The GRP requires the PGV finance periodic super surveys to help reduce noise. My inquiries of Mike Colacchini showed that only 2 surveys were done, one in 1992, without another being done for 19 years. Any reasonable evaluation would conclude that PGV is not meeting the continuous improvement standard. Again, is the real estate purchaser responsible for that? In short, even if the real estate purchaser is informed in the contract, that investor cannot evaluate the risk of the county not enforcing the spirit and law of the GRP or PGV expanding to produce 60 megawatts. This uncertainty lowers real estate prices.
Please sum up.
This lowers real estate prices and imposes a hidden tax on the people that live in Lower Puna. Thank you.
Before we take any more testifiers, I want to remind everyone, testifiers in Hilo, that they need to feed their meters and cannot park in employee parking lots, or else you get one of these, as I did in my parking lot. So be careful. Okay, so let's go. Let me just see. Kona, do you have, move to Kona.
Yes, our first testifier is Shannon Rudolph, representing herself and grandkids, opposing Bill 78. Go ahead.
Aloha, Council. I hope you'll oppose this bill. I think our problems associated with geothermal are far from over, and I think the money should stay as it was intended to be used for instead of fluff and frills. Please oppose this bill. Thank you.
Seven Galambos, representing himself, wife Nikki Conti. Support?
I oppose.
And opposing Bill 78.
Thank you, Council. My wife and I very much oppose Bill 78, and as homeowners and investors living within 1 mile of PGV, it's become very clear that this is a hidden tax, and we should not be held over the barrel to, I'm sorry, let me change directions here. You need to keep this fund open. There's going to be problems here with PGV, and we've seen it happen in the last month. And do not close this fund. There are going to be more people who are looking to be relocated. So, please look at this. Thank you. Thank you. I'll do that.
And let me say the next 2 here in Hilo, Laura Travis and Carrie Marks.
Hello, my name is Laura Travis, and I strongly oppose Bill 270. I don't think there should be a limit on when a resident can file for relocation when affected by the geothermal plant. The geothermal plant continues to run and continues to have accidents as evidenced in the recent March and April incidents. There isn't near enough money to cover the requests for relocation now. I believe that the money in the relocation fund should be used for just that, not for other community benefits. Other community benefits should be requested from the county by you, Gregor, and not from the relocation fund. Your rent for your office should also not come from that fund. Isn't there a free space you can also use at the old police department? Mahalo. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay. Karen?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Carrie Marks. I oppose this bill. As I understand it, the reason we are here today is because there is some confusion about the $1 million fund reserve. The planning director understood that that was to be in reserve, in perpetuity. There was always supposed to be $1 million balance. And we understood, some people understood, that that could be spent down to zero for relocation. As I understand it, this bill corrects that problem so that we can spend the fund down to zero for the purpose of relocation only. Beyond that, if the relocation list is longer than the community benefit list, there are no community benefits. Relocation will always be prioritized, and you will always get your relocations first. So that part I'm pretty solid with. I think that's a good idea. Let's clear it up and let the planning director know what we'd like her to do with all that money. The other part of the bill changes it because we made a mistake once and we allowed a relocation after the 1989 cutoff date, so that set a precedent so that anybody could apply for relocation as long as they were within the 1 mile. Excuse me, I gotta breathe when I do this stuff. As long as they were within the 1 mile perimeter, they could apply for relocation if they showed that they had a need to do that. Mr. Iligan has explained to me that this is to curb abuse of that program. I'm not aware that there's been any abuse, so if there has, let's string them up and tar and feather them and make an example out of them. But for the most part, I would like to reserve the way we have it now with the precedent now, because you never know what's going to go on. That plant has been there for 20 years, and we've taken a lot of heat in the community because nobody complained about it 3 years ago or 5 years ago. Well, we had an incident, and so now people are complaining. And the fact is, people will move into that neighborhood and not even realize it's there until their backyard blows up. And then they're going to want a relocation. So I support the part about spending down the fund balance to zero for relocation only, but I oppose the setting the new 90 days after this bill is signed part of the bill.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mahalo.
Okay, and let me just check. Kona, do you have any other testifiers there?
Madam Chair, we do not have any more testifiers.
Okay, and I don't see any in Waimea and Pahoa. You're clear?
No, ma'am, we still have 3 testifiers.
Okay, then why don't you bring up your next 2, please?
I'd like to introduce Ms. Luana Jones, speaking in opposition of Bill 78, representing geothermal neighbors. Whenever you're ready, ma'am.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say mahalo. Thank you for the opportunity and to testify from a satellite office. It really makes a difference when you have to take time off of work to testify. I was a party to the 60-day limit mediation for the ORMAT permit, and I believe that's where the asset fund came out of. The developer's unwillingness to work with the residents about the impacts of geothermal. So they came up with this Condition 51 that provided an asset fund for community benefits. And then after the blowout, I think is where the relocation fund came from. Then Mayor Lorraine Noy created that fund because when the blowout occurred, there was no opportunity for people to relocate, even temporarily. So at first, when we questioned the county about how do we administer the asset fund, at that time, long time ago, there was only an asset fund. And the response was that that's between the community and the developer. So after the blowout, now we have a relocation fund. And when they wanted, county decided to tap into the relocation fund, I remember getting a call the same day and testifying about the $1 million minimum that we should keep in there, and that was based on advice from an ORMAT worker. You know, if the relocation fund is there to relocate people, then that's what it should be spent for. And then I think Fred Bloss's proposal was the best I've heard so far, and that was to put the asset or benefits in the hands of the community through a community panel. Of course, I wanted to be on it, but now this new bill is proposing to cut off people, and the whole thing is very confusing, and I'm wondering if any of our councilman's constituents were consulted, and if not, you know, there's a lot of people that know a lot about the history of these funds that I would appreciate if people would ask us sometime. But so for those reasons and others, too numerous to mention, I oppose this bill until it can kind of clear the confusion about it. Thank you again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, these little cards. Yeah, okay.
Our next testifier is Mr. Jeffrey Last, speaking in opposition to Bill number 78. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Aloha. Thank you, County Council. I have some information for you. Did you know that ORMAT and PGV do not even own their plant? That plant is owned by dummy legal liability corporations, and they lease the plant from them. You all know why that happens. Did you also know that there's 60,000 gallons of isopentane on that property down there, 2,000 feet from people's homes? Most people don't know that. Did you know that it got hit by lightning a couple years ago and the whole thing almost blew up? And there's still no evacuation plan, and it was determined that there would be a 4,000-foot diameter crater if the whole 60,000 gallons blew up, besides the wells being wiped out. Did you know that the EPA is supposed to do water and air analysis checks, and they don't do that here? They gave it to the DOH to do. And the DOH doesn't do it here. They gave it to PGV to do. Now, PGV regulates itself. PGV is the company that hires the people that do the monitoring. Now, do you think if these people get monitorings ill-reversed that PGV doesn't like, do you think they'll get the contract the next year? Okay, folks, it's time to wake up, wake up, wake up. These people are from outside our community. The only reason why they're here is to make money, period. We do need to change energy here. Did you hear about Apple Corporation? Did you hear about the other corporations that now have fuel cells that run whole buildings? Did you hear about the new batteries, the liquid metal batteries that are coming out that are so much more efficient than the old ones? We're just months or a few years away from changing the whole energy system. Now, you're going to allow new PGV, you're going to allow new geothermal plants out here. What's going to happen to those people? Is it going to be 90 days for them? Now, you have all this information. Are the realtors going to give this information to the people before they buy their homes? That there's 60,000 gallons of isopentane down there? Do you really believe that? Come on, get on board. Start protecting the people instead of these corporations. Get educated. Please get educated. Thank you.
Thank you,
I have
sir.
a question. If you would please sit down again. Did you submit written testimony?
No, I didn't. I did last year, the written testimony about all these things at PGV. No.
Yeah, if you could, I would appreciate it. And the truth is, I don't even know what isopentane is. So if you would help with the educational process. Gas. Anyway, I would appreciate
It's an oil byproduct.
If you would please submit written testimony, I would appreciate it.
I'll bring you some packets in, and I was going to give some to everybody in the county council.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
sir.
Okay, next here have Joyce Felina and, let me see, Laura Travis, Joyce Felina, and Greg Smith.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak about this Bill 78. I thoroughly and absolutely oppose the bill. In part. You have to keep the relocation applications open. The past history of Puna Geothermal Venture has not been a pleasant past history. I've been here since 1983 in November. I was in Kalapana Seaview Estates when the blowout occurred. I was severely ill by 8 o'clock in the morning when I woke up. I had running diarrhea, I had running clear mucus from my nose, headache, all my synovial joints hurt. I was irritated, I was scared out of my wits. I could hear this roaring sound, and that's about 8 to 10 miles straight from the plant. The trade winds blow it to us. Oh, I'm not there anymore, I'm in Leilani. The past performances of Puna Geothermal Venture in protecting our public health and safety have been dismal. Your first responsibilities as our elected officials, all of you, every one of you, especially the author of this bill, is to protect our public health and safety. I'm not smiling at you, Mr. Iligan. I'm angry at you for presenting this bill that does not protect our public health and safety. What do you want to do in case, what is this? I'm sorry, I can't address Mr. Iligan. I'm sorry.
Testimony to me.
Thank you. In third person, what does Mr. Iligan think about our public health and safety when he says no more applications for relocation? In the instance that something happens untoward again, and I expect it will, and we have blowouts, ventings, leaks, you're going to have to relocate people. The only thing I agree with, and you're going to have to amend this bill before I'm going to agree with it completely, in this second point, you can spend all of it for relocation only, under all and any circumstance. You can't touch the last $1 million for community benefits under any and all circumstances. That's it.
Can you sum up, please?
Yes, I can. 30 seconds. I'm insulted that the person representing me is not representing my public health and safety to the best of his ability, and I think he needs to be re-educated to that point. Thank you.
Great.
Good afternoon, Council. I do oppose this bill for many of the reasons that have already been stated, and I think it would really, this is just insane to me that you would cut this off. There is nothing, there's nothing dependable about this plant. That's been proven time and time again. And the fact is that people should have a right to move out of there if they feel threatened. The main factor here is that this plant was never sited properly. I mean, who in God's name would put an industrial plant right next to two subdivisions? It would be like having a nuclear power plant in your backyard. In fact, the nuclear industry has a better safety record than this plant. For you folks that really are interested in, expanding geothermal, the only way that you are actually going to get geothermal in Hawaii is to actually construct and to pass a law that protects our health and safety. Period. End of conversation. It isn't going to happen here. You can push all you want. This isn't a question of no, it's hell no over our dead bodies no. Because The fact of the matter is that this plant should not be in its location. We would have no problem, we wouldn't be wasting county time and effort, millions of dollars. The community wouldn't be in uproar if this plant was in its proper location. Now, in truth, it's cheaper to move that plant than it is to move the population. But for some reason, the county, the state, they decided, oh, we're going to keep this plant in its location, and okay, we're going to move the population. This is economically stupid. Just in a 3-mile radius, I could make a serious guess that we have $1 billion worth of property for a plant that's worth maybe $150 or $200 million. What's the most economic way to solve our problem?
Greg, can you sum up?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Basically to move the plant. But until that time, keep the relocation open. Because if another plant comes to me, they're proposing one within a mile of my house. Guess what, folks? If that thing comes, and I know it won't, I want to be relocated. I don't want to live near there. 3.5 miles is way too close for me. So thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, let's see, Bob Patrici. Is Jean Holmes here? Or Sarah Steiner? Not sure what name this is. Nohea Crutcher? Okay, Bob.
Aloha Council. I'm here today representing the Punapono Alliance, and we strongly oppose Bill 78 for several reasons. One is that there's a lot of PR that goes out that tells people geothermal is safe, it's clean, that all of these things you're hearing about it are not true, and so they may buy a house there believing that and find out that that's not true, and it may take more than 90 days for that to happen. So I have a problem with that. Also, we have 30 people waiting for relocation right now. So obviously there are problems with that power plant that 30 people want to leave. I don't think it's right to slam the door on somebody that may have faith in government and find out that in this particular case that faith is misplaced. So they've also, we've seen 60 accidents at that power plant. So to think that there's not going to be another accident at that plant is probably against the odds, in my opinion. We had one on the 13th of April, and we had another one on the 2nd of March. 13th of March and 2nd of April. So I just don't think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be more accidents, and you can't slam the door on these people. You can see, I have a problem with, I know it wasn't intentional, but the money, there was a lot of money taken out for community benefits, millions and millions of dollars. Would monitoring, an adequate monitoring system for this plant been a community benefit? So instead of getting monitoring, how about a health study? We didn't get any of those things. All we got was this one promise for relocation. That's all we got. And now you want to take that away from us too. I don't think that's right. And so we strongly oppose this. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nohea Crutcher. I also oppose this. And it's sad, but this problem started way before any of you guys got in office. This is a problem that was created back in my A's day. And it started with being disrespectful to Tutupeli, and that's sad. You're putting up with VOG and a lava flow that hasn't stopped since then. And people don't get the feedback. She is not happy with that. So that's one issue. I know that last month there was a gentleman who hadn't been living there very long, and I guess there's another hole that was drilled, and he was talking about how his house has some kind of vibration and noise going on. He couldn't sleep, kind of like what Aurora said when she was in her house. So that kind of stuff is probably going to go on. And you guys have to put up with that, and I hate to say it, but I think you need to be Pono and take care of them. You know, either that or close the plant there. Those are your two options. You got to take care of them. You're not the one that created the problem, but you're left with that problem. And I support you in taking care of them, and if they need to be moved, move them. I mean, would you like your family there? I don't think so. I know when I bought my place, and the last I heard about geothermal was it had stopped when Pele Funds took care of Keliopuna. I had no idea that there was geothermal down there. It was not on my disclosure. Now, I live a little further, and I have a feeling if it was on the disclosure, I think a new person on the island wouldn't realize what that means to live close to geothermal. You know, and I wouldn't have known unless I went to the meeting how many people get sick. So please, do not change. The people that need to be moved need to be moved. And the county's taking a long time moving these people. I mean, it took, what, Aurora, how many years? 20 years, I think, before she got moved. She just got moved. That's pretty sad. So I think the focus needs to be on that. Either that or close the plant. The plant shouldn't be in the middle of people. I don't think it should be on this island, period. This is Tutupeli's Kuleana, especially Puna and Kauera. That's Tutupeli's. Stay away. And if you stay away, she'll take care of you. Right now, I think all the Vaughan stuff is because we don't respect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pahoa, do you have one more testifier there?
Margaret, I didn't use all my time. I'd like to make one more point, and that is, you know, there was some worry that this program is going to be abused, and I would have to say that the abuse has been by the planning department. I didn't qualify. I had to sell my house and move away. Only 2 or 3 people had qualified up until this new spat, and as Nohea had just said, Aurora, it took Aurora years and years and years and years, and the only reason she finally qualified is because we pinned Billy Kanoy down at a public meeting in Pahoa, and he said that happened. So the abuse has not been by the people to this fund. The abuse has been by this government and this county planning department to the people. Thank you.
Okay. Pahoa, did you have one more testifier?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce Ms. Jane Hedke, representing herself, and she'd like to comment on bill number 78. Whenever you're ready, ma'am.
Okay. Hi. I wasn't sure whether to comment, whether to oppose, what to do, and so I'm commenting, but possibly agreeing with some of it. I'm not sure. But what I wanted to point out is here we have yet another amendment of an ordinance for this program. I have here all the amendments over the years. There are 9 to this relocation, community benefits, asset fund, 9574, 0837, 96-2. I could go on and on. This program has been amended by ordinance 9 times, and that's in the last 10 years maybe. And the problem with that is there are no rules for the Community Benefits Fund. It's all been done by ordinance so far. And that's rulemaking by ordinance. As far as I'm concerned, there should be a set of rules for these funds. The Asset Fund has Rule 14, and the community went through a very laborious process to get this, and then we got this passed despite our assistance. Now, where are the rules rules for this community benefits and asset fund? I don't know. Where are the relocation fund? I don't find them. I ask for them. I don't get them because I'm told that the ordinance trumps the rules. And I don't understand, and I've been trying to sort this out, all of these papers, all of these county codes. You're going into everywhere to get this money somehow given to the county to spend for community benefits over and over. And I'm frustrated. And I want to know what is the rules for the community benefits fund so that people who want to get the money can get it in a regular rule-making way, a Chapter 91 procedure, than to go this route. Now Iligan wants to amend it again, Chapter 36 and the article. Again, I don't know which one this is. There's many articles, codes, changes here and there, and that's weaselly to me. That's getting the money in a weasel way. You need to give the people the money for relocation. I was a mediation participant. We negotiated an asset fund with rules, Rule 14. And so where are the rules? And if I was one of these people who wanted to be relocated and has got that 90-day trip, I would be seeing a lawyer because I want to see the rules. I want to know what the rules are. They should find out because I think a court is the only one to decide. Even the county council themselves, Russell Kokubin in 1989, questioned that the county council would have anything to do with this money. I wish I had a copy of this for you, but I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I'd like to check in, are there any other testifiers at any site?
We may have one more, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it looks like we do not. Thank you.
Seeing no more testifiers, I'm going to close the public testimony. Yes. I'm going to close the public testimony section and recess this committee to May 29th, Wednesday at 9 a.m. Following, let me just say this, following the Public Safety Committee, Mass Transit
Madam
and Public
Chair, before you recess, could I take just a minute to clarify some of the things?
No. No. I think you can ask a question of one of the testifiers to. If you have for clarification or if you want more information, but you can't discuss. No.
Madam Chair, if I can help. Yes. Okay. So if Mr. Iligan wants to make any comments, we would have to read into the record this agenda item. Right? There'd be a motion to approve and a second. Then we could begin discussion. Then you could, recess, I guess, at a certain point after that. So that's, I think he's asking for an opportunity because the people are here and he wants to just address them. That's possible. I mean, it's not impossible. So.
Okay. If it's possible, then I'd like to do it where you are just clarifying.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Okay.
We have, it's almost 5 o'clock. We've got to set up for a real property tax meeting, and it's going to take probably 5 minutes to get things switched over.
Okay, but I would like him, to the extent of doing a clarification, I would like him to do so because people are here and we are recessing and they don't have the opportunity for the follow-up right now, and I think it's important for there to be clarification. I do encourage anyone to get in, to be there on the 29th. Okay, thank you. Now, Jay, if you could just help me make sure I handle this correctly, clerk, to read it into the record.
Communication 270, Bill 78 amends Chapter 2, Article 36 of the Hawaii County Code 1983-2005 edition as amended relating to the geothermal relocation and community benefits program from Council Member Gregor Iligan dated April 25th, 2013, amends Section 2-178, purchase and sale of affected properties to state that the planning director shall not accept applications for relocation of any affected property 90 days after the effective date of the ordinance, and amend Section 2-181 expenditures from the fund to allow community benefit expenditures only if monies in the fund exceed the total assessed property value for geothermal relocation.
Okay. Ask for a motion? Okay.
I move
Here,
to
motion to approve.
I move to motion bill number 78.
Second.
Okay, motion by, what? Councilmember Iligan, and seconded by Councilmember Kern. And I'd like to, we're allowing for a clarification by the council member who introduced this legislation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, there's three amendments to this bill, and the first amendment was what everybody was talking about, the applications. Well, currently, anybody around the site, as of pretty much 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years, can apply for relocation. It doesn't matter what's going on. As of right now, you can seek for relocation. Let's say 10 days from now, 90 days from now, you can seek for relocation. A year from now, you can seek relocation. What you missed out on is the purchase. It's anybody who, after 90 days, after knowing what's going on with PGV, decides to move in and then afterwards decides to relocate. That's what they can't do. So nobody can just go into that area and then all of a sudden decides to relocate. But currently, anybody who owns a property around PGV can relocate at any time till forever. The language just says, the planning director shall not accept applications for relocations for any affected property purchased 90 days after the effective date of this ordinance. So for the purposes of this subsection, purchases means the act or process of acquiring real property by deed, will, mortgage, lien, or other means. That means anybody who purchased after the 90 days wouldn't be able to relocate. This
okay, I want to point out to Gregor that in the agenda, it doesn't say the word purchased.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't, so just to clarify that the agenda doesn't, we need to correct that, doesn't agree with the bill.
So that's the first thing. That means anybody living there can relocate anytime from now on till the future. The second part is, I've been trying to get more money for relocation, and I've been talking to the planning department because according to this, you can spend the minimum balance of $1 million. Right now there's $3 million in the fund, and currently we're spending $2 million for relocation. They're not tapping in the $1 million because of the fact that it has to be kept in the fund at all times. Legal things. So in other words, what this does, it puts $3 million into the relocation fund. So all the fund gets put into relocation. The third thing, it's a mechanism where if you have more applicants, right now we have $5 million for assessment for the relocation. We only have 3 money in the fund. So that means